Hi, everyone. My name is Erin O'Neill. Welcome back to the Virtual Conference 2025 hosted by the Music Crew. We're glad you came. We're glad you uh, joined us, and I hope you have some exciting things to start the new school year with. So, a little bit about me. I just finished my 24th year of teaching elementary general music. I live in Northern Virginia. I teach K through 6 and a 5th and 6th grade chorus. And today's session is all about from A to Z with So and Me. So, let's get started. Okay, so and me. So I'm going to teach you all the steps of teaching so and me from high low all the way to they're reading it on the staff in a few different keys. Okay, so now I like to teach this in first grade. Everyone's different. You might teach it in kindergarten, you might teach it in second grade. It depends on when you see your kids, how often you see your kids. But the purpose of me teaching so me is so that you can know where to begin when teaching solfege. You might know that teaching the whole scale of solfege all at the same time is not always the best way for students to learn, especially if you really want them to hear intervals and a tonal center and be able to sight read and create, improvise, compose, whatever. You really need to break it down into so me and then another pitch and then another pitch. And if you're interested in that, I highly suggest you look into getting some Kodai training because in Kodai you will learn all the steps of breaking each concept down like this, and they'll give you a nice sequence to learn or to teach over the years. Speaking of Kodály, you might have heard of prepare, present, or make conscious, and practice. So every concept we teach, we need to take those three steps and so that the students, like I said, really internalize it and feel it inside and really own those concepts for themselves. And within those steps, you want to incorporate oral learning, physical learning, and visual learning. And the whole process, I'm sorry, the whole point of me teaching this so and me is so that you can take these strategies, this process, and move it over into the next concept. You can use those same ideas to teach la, and then you can use those same ideas to teach do and re and et cetera, et cetera. So let's get started. The first thing you need to do when you're teaching any concept is start with a song list. You want to pick at least 5 songs that have good extractable patterns to teach whatever concept you want to learn. And what do I mean by that? I mean, for example, Teddy Bear, it has other pitches, right? Teddy bear, turn around. Teddy bear, touch the ground. So obviously it has more than just so and me. Let's face it, that would be a pretty boring first grade year if the students were only singing songs with so me. But because it has that first teddy bear little pattern, it's extractable. It's perfect because it repeats several times and it's got a great rhythm. Ti ti ta, which we learned earlier in the school year for ta and titi. So you want to have a song list. Apple tree, again, that's a pentatonic scale as well, but you can take that first phrase out. Apple tree, and then later we use it to teach la, and then later in second grade we use it to teach do. Seesaw is the only song in here that only has so and me, and I like to have at least one of those because then when they're learning it on staff with the rhythms, they can see the whole picture. They've learned time signature and bar lines and everything, and they can see the whole thing and they can feel accomplished that they learned an entire song. They can own it, right? Doggy Doggy, Snail Snail. Again, all these songs have other pitches, and that is quite okay. Another little song list over here, other people have learned is Witch. I sing that one too. It's got a great game. Rain, Rain, Go Away, Come Back Home, My Little Chicks, Starlight, Cuckoo. And I don't know Bingo Bongolo, but as I was researching a little bit for this session, I came across it and, ooh, it sounds like fun. And I'm going to pop it into my song list for next year. And a lot of people like Lemonade as well. So let's keep going. Okay, prepare. That is the first step. And we are going to prepare orally first. We are going to sing songs with so and me, obviously, right? I'm going to say this again. Please don't choose only so me songs for first grade. It's terribly boring for them. And they do need to hear these other pitches before they learn them, right? So, but we have a good song set of at least 5. I usually choose more than that, but you're going to choose at least 5 to prepare present and practice with. And then next, you're going to echo high-low patterns. Now, technically, this started in kindergarten. So start with this. If you don't teach kindergarten, then you need to start with this in first grade, and then maybe at the end of the year you teach So Me. But after we've learned like high, high, high in the sky and low, low, low down to the ground, then we are and played around with that for a while. Then we're starting to make them a little closer. We do octaves, right? So we echo patterns with octaves, high, 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 low, 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 and they're high in the sky, and then they crouch down, and then maybe a couple of days later they break it down into fifths, and maybe now we're high in the sky as we sit and touch our lap. High, 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 low, low, low. Is that a da 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 da? High, 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 low, low, low. Duh. Okay, sorry about that. And then you're gonna bring it down even more farther to So Me. High, high, low, low. And the body signs for that are high is up on your shoulders and the low is down on your hips. Lots of patterns, lots of just, and this can be in the middle of a lesson. You're practicing Ta Titi. You're going to learn a song. Hey, boys and girls, would you be my echo? High, low, high, high, low. And they do that just a couple. Maybe as they're waiting for their teacher in line. Hey, boys and girls, echo me, please. High, 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 low, low, low. Okay, just always, always, always. Then you're going to echo these high-low patterns. You can on barred instruments. Okay, so pick a tone set. You could even play Teddy Bear with high, high, low, high, high, low, and you just play that on the barred instruments. Okay, and then finally, you're going to discover and identify high-low pitches in familiar songs. Okay, so let's take Teddy Bear. Okay, so I'm going to go Teddy Bear. Teddy bear. Okay, class, how can we show that with our body signs? Like, which one is the high sound and which one is the low sound? Remember, they've done a lot of high, low, high. So they're very familiar with this, right? How could we do that, boys and girls? How would we show that? Can you take a minute and figure that out on your own? Like, try some things and see what feels right, what sounds right. And then you give them a moment. They're all kind of like touching their shoulders and hips and they might go teddy bear, teddy bear. Oftentimes they'll do that. And then you're like, I'm gonna watch with my eagle eyes to see who maybe can figure it out on their own. And then, oh, look, little Sally, teddy bear. That's right. High, high, low. Let's all try that. Okay. And then maybe the next day you do some visual stuff. So let's move on. Okay, so we've done a little oral practice. Let's talk about physical practice. Now, you do not need to do it in these steps. I always do oral first, but then right away we start doing some physical stuff. So, for example, the body signs. So, like I said, whole body show high and low, and then you break it down a little bit, high in the sky, on the floor as you're seated, and then So Me, and that's when you can go into the body signs. Use whatever you want. That's just what I use. And then when I teach La, it's up on our head. And I teach Do, it's on the ground. And then after that, we just start to when I get to Ray and Lola and stuff like that, we start to just draw it in the air because quite frankly, we're running out of body parts. Okay, so that's two ideas. Another way is you can point to a high-low chart. Now, this also kind of tags or has one foot into the visual as well, but you're still pointing and it's going high-low as you're looking at these little teddy bears here. Okay. So preparing visually. After we've orally practiced some echoing, high, low, we're going to really quickly not spend too much time just doing that, but we're also going to have some reading high, low patterns on the board, just with icons. You can see I've got some apples down here. You can do it with whatever season you're in, snowflakes, pumpkins, that kind of thing. Just have some patterns. And I use a line. You don't have to. I think it's nice for them to see what is above the line is high, what is below the line is low. And I'll echo sing these first, like I'll point to them and sing, then they will do it. And then pretty soon they're going to get really good and they'll be able to do it without you echoing first. Okay. Then you can also do high-low patterns on the paper. Like I told you in the slide before, where they're touching the high lows. And oftentimes, teddy bear is a great one for that because the teddy bear part repeats over and over. So every time we sing teddy bear, boys and girls, can you sing and point to your teddy bears? Great. Now this time, can you sing high, high, low instead of teddy bear? Awesome. Let's put our papers away. Can you sing it like this? High, low, turn around. High, low, high, low. And you can do that as you look and point as you just do the physical. You can do all of them all together, and it's a great little prepare for So Me. You can also have a human xylophone. I mean, a child standing and a child kneeling. Now, this is not a physical thing because honestly, the kids who are doing it aren't really, that's not a physical thing for them. They're just standing there. It's a visual thing for the rest of the class. So you really want to get a couple different people up there so everyone has a chance to at least see it. So you have one child standing, one child kneeling, or one child, whatever, as long as there's a high low, and you have your little mallet or your hand high, low, and everyone sings and points to the people. So that's kind of fun. And then you can also, another idea is have a little ladder. You'll see this again when we actually present So Me, but right now it just says high and low. And you don't have to have any lines there. Just point high, low. And you can even do a little inner hearing if you feel like they're getting really good at it. Okay, boys and girls, watch this pattern and sing it in your head while I point to it. And then we'll do it out loud together. So I'll go, all right, ready, go. And they all sing high, low, high, low. Let's move on. So just one more page to talk about visually preparing. You can see here I've got two different ways that I visually prepare it. I usually leave it like in the Rain, Rain, Go Away, which sounds are high and low. So we identify by aural and then by looking, and then we say, okay, let's move. Who can come up and move the pictures above and below the line so that it matches how the song goes? And then I have students come up and do what they think it is. Now this is really important. If they do it the incorrect way, cool. Let's double check our work, and then you sing it the way that they did it. So if they go, rain, rain, go away, you're going to sing it like that and be like, does that sound right? No, it does not. What could we change so that it sounds right? And remember, this is not just for So Me, this is for every melodic concept that you're going to teach from now on. Make sure that you give some students the opportunity to come up or to tell you, or if you don't have that interactive capability, and then sing it the way they did it so that they can match. Oh, that's right. That's not right. Yeah, which one is incorrect? So then we move the correct way. Let's sing the song. Can you point in the air while you sing it with me? Now let's sing it with high, low. And the same thing with seesaw up and down. You can use just words for it. This is also a great literacy connection. You can see, you're seeing the words, and they're easy enough words for first grade to learn. So probably one of my most favorite parts of teaching solfege is Music Street. I don't remember where I learned this. Probably learned it in Kodály levels. And there's a story of Music Street, right? There's this magical place where everyone sings, and it's a wonderful place, and all this other stuff, and they get really into it. So the first people to move into the Music Street like neighborhood are the So family and the Me family. And they both built their house at the same time, but you can see they're not right next door neighbors, are they, boys and girls? What's in between them? A for sale sign. That's because someone will move into that plot and build a house someday. It's going to not be for a long time, but we need to keep that spot open for them. And then someone will see my ladder and be like, it's fa, it's fa. It is fa. You're right. Good job. But they're not going to move in for quite a long time. But we need to make sure that that spot's open. You know, you get the idea. So they really buy into this Music Street. They love it. They want to know more about the So family. You can go on and on for about, but the So family, when they sing, they always sound like this. So. And they have this special hand sign that goes along with it. Can you try and be my echo? And then you sing something just with so's. And then the Me family, it's kind of like I'm going to try to get my in the frame. You point to yourself, me, and then open, right? So me. So can you echo me, boys and girls? And they have little conversations back and forth, the So family and the Me family. They go back and forth. And someone will be like, it's just like high low. Yes, it is just like high low. Good job. So the So family is the high sound. You see how they live on the high side of the street? You get the idea. So you can echo with So Me, with icons still. Now, boys and girls, let's go back to those apples that we saw yesterday, and let's read it with So and Me. And I might write S and M for a day or two. Pretty soon they're going to get really used to it, and they don't need you to write S and M anymore. You can do it with the ladder like you see, and you can see I left a little spot. Why is there an open spot there, boys and girls? Right, because it's for sale. And I might even draw a little for sale sign, or might even like scriggle it out or squiggle it out just to remind ourselves that it's not next door. We might do the human xylophone again. We might do barred instruments. And then pretty soon We're going to read those iconic patterns again, like I said. We're going to echo with body signs, still, that's okay, and with hand signs. So some people think that when soon as you present the word so and me, or the words, or I guess the pitch names, that is the presentation. It can be. Sometimes people do that. I tend to think that presenting is when you present it on the staff. That's what I like to think. So right here, what I'm showing you is still preparation. Preparation is a long phase, right? They're going to be so good at singing so me patterns. By the time you put it on the staff, it's going to be not a big deal. So you can see here on the left, okay, boys and girls, what do we see here? I see some tas and titis. Yeah, that's right. I see some hand signs and I see the soap. Let's sing it. What song does this match? And then, or like, what's some, I usually call it a mystery song. What mystery song is this? Someone's like, rain, rain, go away, cuckoo, all those other things. And then the right hand side, now you can see I use a 2-line staff. I don't spend very much time on this, but I do like them to see that it's on the line, and I've still labeled it like that. So me. No rhythm yet. Boys and girls, what's the mystery song? Apple tree, teddy bear, Halloween, all that stuff. This is all still preparation. So obviously, before you teach so and me on the staff, you need to teach about the staff. Now you can do this long before you teach so and me, or somewhere in the middle of the preparation phase. I tend to teach it right before I'm going to teach so and me on the staff. You need to go over line numbers, space numbers. It's like an elevator, boys and girls. The first floor is down here. That's the first line. Second floor, second line, and it goes up and it goes up. And we'll play with small stabs, our hand staff. Everybody show me line 1. That's right. Wiggle it. Stuff like that. Small stabs. I have felt stabs. So we go a lot of line and space numbers. And then we go quickly into steps and skips. So you can see on here, I just gave you a little example. The next door neighbors, musicians, call these steps. You see how it's on a line in their very next space? Let's show that on our hand staff, right? Let's show that on our small staff that they're using with maybe bingo chips or whatever. And then the bottom one, not next door neighbors. There's one thing in between. Musicians call these skips, kind of like so and me, right? And it's a skip. It's line to line, or a space to a space. And we always show it on our hand staff, and then we show it on our small staffs. So you have to do, and then of course repeat. Yeah, but it is worth mentioning. Some kids don't understand that there is a repeat and you're going to sing it again, and it's the same thing. So you have to do all of this before you put anything like so me la or whatever on the staff. It's time to present. And present is, or make conscious, is the smallest part of the prep, present, and practice. It's just 5 minutes long, right? It's just, here it is, boom, presenting is done. Okay, now we start the practice phase. So we present so me on the staff. They already know they're not next door neighbors. So what did we call that on the staff? That's right, it's a skip. So for right now, so is going to live on line 2. And if me is a skip lower, then where would me go? That's right, line 1. So we teach it in this key first, simply because it's kind of the easiest to see. It's on the bottom, and they're already used to seeing the 2 lines where it's the 2-line staff, like I showed you on the other slide. In our school we teach almost all the solfege pitches, with the exception of low la and low so, in the keys of C, F, and G. I'm not a big proponent of saying, where is so me here? Where is so me there? Where is so? I really want to keep it in a key and read it like that for maybe a week or 2, 3, 4, and then change the key. Okay. They really have to get used to reading it, in my opinion. This is just my opinion. I know a lot of people who want them to know so me and la or whatever it is, and on every single pitch, every single everywhere. But for me, I think that's a little too much for first grade. And if we could just keep it into 3 keys, that would be great. And then with la, we do the same thing. It's the same 3 keys. Do, re, same 3 keys. And this really works with them. They're very solid in reading in those 3 keys. And then of course, later in the years, we'll get into a couple other keys, but really that's all they really need to know, in my opinion, for elementary school. And then also, we are not putting any rhythms on it yet. We're just reading in circles. That comes later. And now starts the longest phase, the practice phase. And I say this is the longest because really you're going to be practicing so me forever. I mean, not really forever, but really you are. You're going to be practicing, and along with practicing ta ti ti, along with doing other things, just not like if you've only been preparing so me and that's it. You've been doing other things, of course, but we're going to talk about that on the next slide. Okay, so how do you practice? You read it, right? Either on the staff, or I mean, you can still read it with icons, but they're kind of past that. So just read it on the staff in the key that you want them to. And then body and hand signs, of course. You're going to write it. Now, writing doesn't necessarily mean pencil to paper. You can do worksheets, you can use manipulatives, you can use small stabs with like just have a piece of paper with 5 lines and then use bingo chips. That really works. And I have felt stabs that my mom and I made years ago, but I do know they're sold on Etsy with like little felt circles and things like that. And then little whiteboards. And I think I have some more activities on the next page. Let's go see. Yeah, I was right. So I'm going to read a little bit farther down. So you can read new songs. That's a great way to practice. You can identify so and me in new songs. So here's the new song, boys and girls. Maybe you didn't read this one, but here's the new song. Who can tell me how it goes with rain, rain, go away? If that wasn't one of our practice songs, right? Excuse me. Or what was one of the other songs that come back home, my little chicks. Now that's a tricky one because so me is not a pattern that we're used to doing, right? But that would be a great one for them to identify the so and me. They can do a write the room activity where you've hung flashcards all over the classroom and they walk around with their worksheet and they copy or they decode or whatever it is onto their worksheet, the pattern on the card. They can do centers. And within the centers, this is a great way to practice, especially if your like voice is tired or you're just tired. You can have, there's lots of board games, card games, task cards, worksheets, listening stations, whatever you can think of. I do have SoMe centers in my store if you're interested in that. I like to have them just printed and ready to go. And that way, if I don't have it planned, but I'm like, you know how when you're kind of sick, but not so sick that you need to stay home, you're just kind of feeling a little under the weather, but maybe you don't have any sick days or whatever. So you go in. Centers is a great thing to do that day, you know? Just have it printed out and ready to go. And then you can, it's not like it's fluff. They're not watching a movie. They are practicing and they get to be a little social while doing that. Then we're going to improvise and compose. We're going to play on barred instruments, like echoing. Maybe they're composing on that. Maybe they're playing known songs on barred instruments. And then, like I said a few slides ago, you're doing this all while you're preparing rest, preparing la or do or whatever concept you teach next, practicing tatiti, maybe you're folk dancing, maybe hopefully you have some listening lessons in there. So it's all kind of interspersed. So maybe all the practice you do. Good morning, boys and girls. Let's read this pattern on the board. This is our so ready go. And they read it. And let's do one more. What's the mystery song? Perfect. That's all. That's all the practice you did. That's perfectly fine. That's a little practice, a little nugget of practice. And then you learn a new song that maybe is preparing for la. So all of this is kind of interwoven in with the other concepts that you're teaching and just the other things you're teaching in general. Okay, when you are ready to add rhythm, here's what you're going to do. Now, I used to teach it in all 3 keys, and then I think I taught la first, and then I taught rhythm. And I thought, why wait? You know, I teach rhythm pretty quickly after I show them where it is on the staff. And by teaching rhythm, I don't mean that. They've already known ta and titi since October at this point. We're going to add the rhythm. Okay, so I take a pre-made ta titi and I infinitely clone them. Now I use Smart Notebook because I can't find another program that allows kids to come up and move without it being too difficult. So if anyone knows anything, pop it into the chart or the comments down there. I don't know, maybe PowerPoint would work, maybe Google Slides. I'm not a huge Google Slide fan, but anyway, I digress. So what you're going to do is you're going to have the SoMe pattern. And you're going to be like, if you looked at this, what would your guess be about how we would say this with ta and titi? Of course, they're going to say ta, ta, titi, ta. And as you can see, it's I'm going to drag it ta, ta, titi, ta. And oh, when you see their eyes, they're like, that's real music. Yes, it is. You are reading real music. They get so excited because they didn't put that together. You know, they didn't realize what they were doing. And it's very exciting for them. So that's what I do. I teach it in the key of C first, and then we'll go to the next slide and I'll teach you how I teach F, or show you how to teach G and F. So once they're comfortable reading in the key of C, I go to G next. And the reason is because the stems are pointing in the same direction, right? So for C, they're pointing up, for G, they're pointing down, but we don't have the complexity of up and down quite yet. So when I do this, I move up, and then where would me be? That's right, line 3. Now, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to move the stems so that they go down. Does anyone know why? Probably they're not going to know why. And I don't know. I just kind of made this up. I think this is correct. Sometime in the olden days, they had the stems going up, and the stems started to interfere with the staff above it. Actually, I think this is the real reason. I don't know. Um, Especially if you have like a whole bunch of notes up on the top, and I actually draw it out like staff and staff with a whole bunch of notes, and I'm like, "Do you see how the stems are getting into the other staff?" That might be a little confusing to read, right? So, someone back in the olden days said, "Well, let's do this. Let's just make them go down instead of going up. That way we can keep the stems kind of in the staff as much as possible." No big deal. So then we start reading some patterns. Oh, look at the TT. It looks so funny upside down. No big deal. It's still TT, right? They get comfortable reading like that. We practice it a whole bunch of different ways. And then finally we teach the key of F. And you can see on the right-hand side there, I teach it like water. Okay. So like the third line is the water line. And the so on top of it, or the stem is the goggles looking into the water, and the me goes up because that's like its snorkel. It's going up to breathe. And I don't really know if this makes a big difference, but they can understand that, and they can see that that's why it goes in up and down, and to keep it within the staff as much as possible. I just say line 3 is where it changes. So let's move on. So that's how I teach So and Me in first grade. And really, I take those strategies and those ideas to teach the rest of the melodic concepts. For example, La, we also learn in first grade. Their body signs on their head, their hand signs right here, because they're so busy looking out their window, wondering what's going on next door at the So family house. They're so nosy and things like that. So the kids really love it. And I hope you guys have learned something, and I hope this helps you teach So and Me and maybe the rest of the melodic concepts in the future. Thank you so much for coming. If you have any questions, pop them in the comments, or you can email me at info@aaronsmusic.com. Thanks.